Hello everyone and welcome back to another video of Limbus Company. Today we'll be taking a look at the brand new Dieci identities, starting off with Yi Song. First off is skill 1, Expand Knowledge. It's a 3 to 11 Gluttony skill, pierce damage. Gains Insight times 3% of max HP shield if this skill is discarded. On use, discard one skill of the highest rank in all of this unit's skill slots, and if the target has 5+ sinking, gain an extra coin power, which would bring it up to a 13. On hit with both coins, it lowers the user's stagger threshold by your amount of insight. Seems like a pretty standard skill 1. 11 can give it an 11 roll, which can be boosted up to a 13. Pretty decent. Doesn't really do much else though. Like, the lowering stagger threshold is kind of whatever. He is a tank identity, which makes it somewhat okay, but lowering your stagger threshold doesn't really make a difference, especially when it's such low numbers. Like, the max it can lower it by with one skill 1 is 6, which isn't a whole lot. It's not really going to make that much of a difference. It might stop you from being staggered, like, with a single coin roll. Sometimes, maybe. But it's pretty unlikely it'll actually do anything. Next up, skill 2, Seal Shut. It's a 4 to 13 Lust skill, blunt damage. Gain Insight times 6% of max HP shield if this skill is discarded. On use, discard one skill of the highest rank in all of this unit's skill slots. If target has 5+ sinking, coin power +1, which would bring it up to a 16, which is standard. On use, gain +3 aggro to this skill slot next turn, and on hit with the second and third coins, you inflict sinking equal to Insight. Again, feels like a pretty standard skill 2. It is a little unfortunate that to make it an average skill 2, you do need the coin power conditional, but it's fine. It's pretty easy to get 5+ sinking. I mean, all you gotta do is use a single Rhyme Shank, so pretty easy to get that. And inflicting 6 sinking at max is nothing to scoff at. It's a decent amount of sinking application that it has. So as long as you have some sinking count application too, it's like It's decent. Nothing crazy. Moving on to skill 3, we have Grace of Knowledge. It is a 4-coin sloth skill doing blunt damage, rolling a 4 to 12. Yikes. Gain Insight times 12% of max HP shield if this skill is discarded. On use, gain 10 aggro to this skill slot next turn, and at 50% HP or lower, coin power +1, which would bring it up to another 16. And on hit with the 4th coin, you inflict 3 sinking count. I don't like this skill 3. It doesn't seem that good. 10 aggro is pretty decent. I don't actually know the formula or like exactly how aggro works. It's basically guaranteeing that he will be targeted when he uses skill 3, so it just doesn't roll very high, and the conditional to make it actually roll an okay amount to make it on par with the skill 2 is just pretty bad. Like 50% minus 50% HP, being at that, it's something you have to actively try to do Not really that good. Next we have the defense skill, Fixated Study, rolling a 12 to 18. On use, randomly discard 2 of this unit's skills in ascending order of ranks from all of its skill slots. On use, gain 5 aggro to this skill slot next turn. Pretty standard. It's okay. Nothing crazy. He will always be getting more than just 18 shield when he uses this, by the way. Like, discarding 2 skills means that he will be gaining a lot of extra shield by this, so I'd say maybe expect around like 30 shield on average when you use this. Maybe a little bit higher or lower. Next we have the passive, Sinking Knowledge. Costs 3 sloth. When attacked, inflict 1 sinking on the attacker. When attacked while shielded, inflict 1 additional sinking on the attacker. 4 times max. It's pretty good. This is pretty good sinking application. Can get up to 8, depending on how many coins the enemy has, so it's pretty good. Pretty easy and simple way to actually gain sinking on the enemy without having to spend it, mind you. You just pop a defense skill and then tank an attack with lots of coins, and then boom, free 8 sinking potency on the enemy, just like that. Pretty easy. Next is the support passive, Reviewed Knowledge. Costs 4 sloth. When one ally with the highest speed discards a skill, gain 5 times discarded skill rank percent of max HP as shield, 2 times per turn. This is a pretty interesting support passive. Obviously, it's only usable on characters that can discard, so the Dieci Association and the Molar Office, but it's always going to give you a pretty significant amount of shield. Well, I guess it's not that significant. Like 5% is not that much, especially when like your max is like 200, so best case scenario you're gaining like 10 shield. That is if you're discarding skill 1s I'm talking about. But most of the time you're going to be trying to discard higher skills, so it's going to give you like maybe 20 shield. Basically the equivalent of a free defense skill, just for, discarding when you have the support passive. So it's pretty good support passive, I'd say. All around, he's pretty okay. I'd say he's kind of like just a budget Dieci Rodion, to be honest. He does basically the same thing she does, but worse. So, if you don't have her, you can use him instead, and he basically does the same thing. The only real issue I have is with his skill 3. It just doesn't feel right, especially with the coin power conditional. First of all, it doesn't, like, there's no consistency between the other coin power gains. With his skill 1 and skill 2, it's all on how much sinking the enemy has. But for skill 3, it's just if you have 50% or less health. Which, there's no consistency between that. And not to mention the fact that pretty much every one of his skills, he will constantly be gaining shield over and over. So it makes it significantly more difficult for him to actually lose health. It doesn't mesh well with what he's trying to do. Other than that, though, I'd say he's pretty good. Definitely a decent, like, mid-tier identity. Anyways, next up we have Hong Lu. Starting us off with the skill 1, Expend Knowledge. It is a 5 to 10 Wrath / skill. On use, discard 1 skill of the highest rank in all of this unit's skill slots. On use, Clash Power plus Insight -1. On heads hit, inflict 1 sinking count, and reuse the coin insight -1 times. So what I'm not quite sure about is whether or not that clash power applies after the discard or not. I assume it should, which would make it so that if you use this skill and then discard, say, a skill 2, for example, it would then boost your clash power by 1, bringing it up to an 11 clashing, which is average. If it does work like that, you know, this is a pretty average skill in terms of clashing. But because of the reusing coins, it's actually pretty decent for damage too. It's probably much more reliable for damage than clashing, obviously being a skill 1. But that reusing coin is pretty neat. Other than that, it's pretty simple skill 1. Nothing really to complain about. Skill 2, we have Unveil, a gloom slash skill with 3 coins, rolling a 4-16. On use, randomly discard 2 of this unit's skills in ascending order of ranks from all of its skill slots. On use, coin power plus insight -1, which would, at maximum potential, it would give a +2 coin power, boosting it up to a 22, which is really good. And on hit with the third coin, inflict 4 sinking. So not a whole lot going on with this skill, but it does have really good clash potential with rolling at 22. So really good damage, really good clashing. Can't go wrong with it. Skill 3, we have Cyclical Knowledge. 3 coin sloth skill doing blunt damage, rolling a 5 to 14. On use at 2+ insight, coin power plus insight, which would give it an extra 9 power, boosting it up to a 21? No, 23. On use, deal +3% more damage per sinking on target, max of 30. And on hit with the third coin, inflict 4+ sinking count. And if it staggers or defeats enemy, heal 10 SP. So that's kind of whatever, who cares. But again, just like the skill 2, pretty simple. Rolling really high, 23 is insanely good. It kind of needs that though, because otherwise it's not the greatest at only a 14, so you don't want to use this skill first, basically. You need to use skill 2 or skill 1 or a defense skill or something before actually using this. Otherwise it's not going to be very good. Defense skill, Guiding Steps, is an evade, rolling 4 to 14. On use, randomly discard 2 of this unit's skills in ascending order of all ranks from its skill slots. Standard evade. Discards 2, so it kind of works well with this kit. So, nothing to complain about. Evades are always good. Always will be. Onto the passive, we have Peering Through a Key. It is a Gloom Resonance, which is... Resonance is always worse than Owned, simply by nature of it, you know, not happening every time consistently, but it's still fine. When discarding a skill, gain damage up equal to the discarded skill rank, max 3 per turn. When other allies discard a skill, and if the ally's discarded skill rank is higher than this unit's insight value, this unit gains +1 insight. So if you discard a skill 3 with this, you gain 30% extra damage. And since all of his skills pretty much are going to be rolling insanely high with the actual damage, like, let's say you do discard a skill 3. That would also give you 3 insight, which would make skill 1, you know, hit 3 times, and skill 2 have its maximum roll, which would basically absolutely shred enemies with that 30% damage bonus. The other thing is just, it's nice to have. It gives him a little bit more consistency when he's in a team with other discard units, so nothing to really complain about with that. His support passive, Enlightenment, costs 4 Gloom. After attack, if the target is in a staggered or defeated state by an attack from one ally with the least SP, the ally heals 7 SP. What? Why would you ever run this over base Honglu's passive? Base Honglu's support passive is just you heal 6 SP at the end of a turn. I guess technically speaking, this one could give you more SP healing if you have like multiple skill slots and you stagger multiple enemies in a single turn. It would technically give you more value, but like just run base Honglu's support passive. There's no point in running this. It's kind of pointless. Anyways, final thoughts. He's pretty standard. He's got a lot of damage potential. He's like super high damage potential. But other than that, he's pretty simple. Not a whole lot going on. Anyways, that's basically all from me. So here's my friend code in case you want to add me and try out the new identities before you pull for them, see if you actually want to or not. And yeah, that's basically it. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.